Welcome to to firstly our guest speaker, Paul Sullivan, from the British Business Bank, and then welcome to all of our participants here today. We are recording the webinar, so we'll be sending it out to anybody that's signed up that's not been able to make it, and also anybody else that wants to view it later on. We might be popping them on our website for people to take a look at later on. So that will be a takeaway. I'm just going to start quickly before I introduce Paul to everybody. So yeah, Paul's our guest speaker today, going to be talking to us about startup finance and the options that are out there for our businesses here in Uttlesford. Before he does that, I'm just going to quickly run through a few bits just with regards to what we have on offer to businesses here in Uttlesford. So here's the team. There's myself, Andy, who's on the call, and also Sarah. We make up the economic development team here at Uttlesford. We're always on hand to kind of signpost people in the right direction to business support, business finance, any training opportunities as grants available. And at the moment we're running our Startup September activities, so obviously these webinars are part of that. This series, they've got two more next week, so if anybody would like to join the ones next week, we've got Instagram strategy for beginners on Tuesday, and on Wednesday we've got starting your business from home, which is all about the logistics of working from home and how you can prioritize time and that kind of thing efficiently. So if anybody would like to join the webinars next week, then they're more than welcome. We've also got a business coaching opportunity, all fully funded and free for our businesses to apply for. We've got 18 spaces in total for 8 hours of business coaching. 6 hours of those are on online within group sessions, and then there'll be 2 hours of one-to-one with a business coach, private sessions with them. So if anybody would like to apply for that, again, we have got a couple of spaces on, definitely on the I came with an idea, left with a business. We've got lots of spaces on that still, and on the women in business and the how to build a business, I think we've got one space in each left. So there are a couple of spaces available if anybody would like to join those. We've also got a startup grant. This is well, anybody eligible is a startup business with just simply an idea, or an early stage business so those that have been trading for up to 2 years. So take a look at our website for more information about that. We've also recently developed a startup guide, and in that hopefully gives you all the kind of things you need to be thinking about for starting a business, whether that's working with the council on certain things or whether that is just kind of where to begin and thinking of your idea and how to set up websites and that kind of thing. So there's all sorts of information in there, so please download that if you'd like a bit of support there. We've also redone our website recently, and on there is a business directory, so we're encouraging people to sign up to the business directory. It's free to join, and it just gives other businesses an opportunity to look on there and see if there's any businesses they want to collaborate with, and obviously it's resident facing as well, so if anybody is a resident and wants to find a particular business, then they can come to that. So I'm encouraging all businesses within Uttlesford to sign up to our business directory. And finally, just before I pass over to Paul, just wanted to mention our next in-person event, which is on the 5th of October. I believe it's a Thursday. It's in the morning. It's a breakfast at the Novotel in London, at London Stansted Airport. So if anybody would like to join us, we're going to have some workshops, one of them about finance, one of them about kind of the support that's available to you as a Uttlesford business, and also one about marketing your business. So some really good workshops from some industry experts there. You're all more than welcome to join us. It's free to come along, and there's a complimentary breakfast, so please do sign up if you'd like to come along. So just lastly, before I pass on, the only other way to kind of keep in contact, obviously you can email us anytime, go on the website, but there's also a newsletter that we send out. We tend to do it every other week, just to keep you updated on what's available to you as a business. So please do sign up if you haven't already done so. So without further ado, I will pass over to Paul. So thank you for joining us, Paul, and thank you for agreeing to do this and share your lots of knowledge with us of what's available to our businesses. So I'll hand over to you and I will put you on your first slide.
Thank you, Rachel, and thank you very much for the invitation to come along and speak today. Yes, good morning, everyone. I'm Paul Sullivan. I'm the Senior Manager for the British Business Bank covering the East of England. I've been with the British Business Bank now about 5 years. Prior to that, I worked for Lloyds Bank for 34 years predominantly with small businesses across the region, and I do live right on the border of the Uttlesford area, so I do know the locality pretty well. For those of you that don't know anything about who the British Business Bank are, I'll just quickly cover that off. We are the government's economic development bank. The technical term for us is an arm's length body, which means that we're actually owned by government, but we're independently managed, which means the strategy and the way that we operate in the business environment is down to us and down to our management. We look to bring expertise and capital into the market for the smaller businesses in the UK to access that funding and finance on their business journey. And we don't do that directly ourselves. To make our capital work much more efficiently, we work alongside over 200 delivery partners, such as the high street banks through to alternative banks, alternative lenders, leasing companies, but also in the world of equity as well. So we work with business angels, angel networks, venture capital and private equity. And really what drives us is to try and increase the choice in terms of who supplies it and the type of funding for businesses. So generally how we operate is we identify that there's a gap in the market, so something that's not already being covered, and our work is definitely not about replicating and reshuffling around the finance that's already available in the market. We need everybody to deliver that at the moment, and we need to find ways to actually bring more things to the market to give businesses more choice and access to more types of funding, so that really good businesses that are there in the UK don't stymie their growth by not having access to the right level of capital. So our money always goes in alongside private sector money from our delivery partners. As you can see, it's a wide range of people there, and it kind of creates this larger pot for businesses to access. Next slide, please, Rachel. So in terms of options and types of funding that are out there, you can broadly put those into three kind of groups. I'm going to cover off a bit around debt finance and equity finance today. Rachel, in her introduction, has covered off the important part that local authorities now play in terms of the business grant space, and absolutely for businesses in the Uttlesford area, the local authority website is certainly your first port of call, really, to see what's available and what's out there. Next slide. As a general kind of starting point, if you're at the stage where you know your business needs some external investment or injection of capital into it, these are the type of things that kind of should be in your head when you're thinking about actually what's the right type of finance for me and where should I go. So what is it you're looking to do with the finance? How much do you need? When do you need it? But then start to think how you're going to put that proposition together. So what makes your business different? What makes it, special for you? Demonstrate that you understand your marketplace and how it fits into that. There will be some work you need to do around the financial element, and I'll come on to that a little bit later as well in terms of what you can do to help prepare yourself for that. And certainly have a think about what are the skills that you may have as your business proprietor, or what other skills are available within your business that's going to show a really good, strong position for anybody that's looking to invest or lend money to your business. So you move on a couple, please, Rachel, because the next one's just a header slide. So I'm going to start off by talking a little around debt in terms of how that can actually help support your business at certain times. Now, one of the things that the bank is really keen to ensure that businesses are aware of, there are different types of funding that will be right at different stages. And we know that in different parts of the country and different finance ecosystems, certain types of funding is more readily available than others. Very much part of what we do is increasing the awareness of what's out there, so businesses can do a little bit more work in terms of looking at what's out there and who they can talk to help support them through that. So I'm going to pick up a particular type of debt finance now if we move on. Now, because this is part of the startup week or startup September for Uttlesford, I thought I'd concentrate on the startup loan proposition. The startup loan proposition has been part of the British Business Bank for some time. It's been running since 2012. The scheme was set up to help people on the ladder to starting their own business. So the types of loan that are available can start as little as £500 and can go up to 25,000 per director or key individual within the business. It's an unsecured personal loan. Now, the reason it's done in that way is that very often businesses will need funding before the business is up and running. So for us to do it, and in terms of a personal loan, it kind of gets past that stage of where you are in terms of having your business open. Interest rates, very topical at the moment, because there'll be an announcement a little bit later about what the Bank of England are going to do with interest rates generally across the market. But the great thing about the startup loan scheme is the annual rate of 6% was fixed, while the interest rates were at 0.1%, and it's still at 6%. You know, this isn't a vehicle for looking at profitable returns. This is more of an ethical scheme that is just looking at how do we get people on the road to starting their own business, because we're really keen to do that. The loans can be taken out between 1 and 5 years, and the scheme has been enhanced in that now there is further support available for businesses. The initial scheme is for while you're in the first 3 years of trading. There is now a chance to go back for further funding during your first 5 years of trading. Now, in terms of what impact this scheme has had, within the last 10 days, we've gone through the £1 billion barrier in terms of business amount of funding that's gone out to over 100,000 businesses. And as you can see from the graphic that's on there, these loans are not huge in the scheme of things. In the average loan size is still under £10,000, but it's very vital to get those businesses off and running. A big focus for the bank is in terms of how everybody, regardless of gender or ethnicity, can access funding. So the startup loan scheme is made much more accessible around that. And the numbers that are on here in terms of the number of loans that go to female founders or to founders from an ethnic background are market leading. The general loan environment isn't anywhere near those numbers, unfortunately, but certainly from a startup perspective, we're very proud of those numbers. There is lots of more work for us to do, but it is moving in the right kind of direction. Next slide, please. Okay, so what do you need to be eligible for the startup loan? I'm not going to read all of the bullet points here because I know that Rachel will share the slides after. But effectively, if you're over 18, i.e. then legally able to borrow, and you are based in the UK, that's a really good starting point. If you've not been trading for up to 3 years, that's fine, you fit that scheme. And it still works even if you're taking over an existing business that has been in play for more than 3 years. So you could be taking over, say, a hospitality business, for example, that's been operating in a high street near you for the last 10 years. But if you are taking it over and you are new to that business, then you still are eligible to apply for a startup loan. Next slide, please. So how do you go about applying for a loan? You can do that via the website, and there's a screenshot here of where that what that actually looks like, and the process is fairly straightforward in terms of how you access that. The next step from there, if we go to the next slide, please, is that you'll be allocated one of our business support partners. Now, Rachel has mentioned the business support partner for Essex, which is the Let's Do Business Group, who are going to be presenting at the business breakfast, and they are our official business support partner for Essex. Now, the great thing about having a business support partner is it does exactly what it says on the tin. They are there to help you manage your application, your business plan, the financials, to get you in the best possible shape to meet the criteria to get that loan approved. So they're absolutely working alongside you to ensure that you've got the best possible chance to achieve that funding. There's also additional services that go alongside that. In terms of with the startup loan, it comes with a 12-month mentoring package. It also comes with access to an open university online training suite, which covers an awful lot of the skills and capabilities that you need when you're starting to run your own business. So that's all available free within the startup loan program. I'm going to pick up now a little bit around equity finance, because that's also a very important part of the funding landscape for early stage businesses, particularly if they're in a sector where it takes an awful long while for them to get to a stage where they've got a product that's ready for market and ready to go out. Next slide. So in particular, I want to look at here business angels. Now, if any of you watch Dragon's Den, that will give you a little bit of an idea about what this environment involves. However, because that is done for television, it's squeezing a process that could take many months into a few minutes on television. So it's always worth looking at and understanding what's required within this process, how long it will take. Now, what business angels will tell you is that their offering for early stage businesses is very much more than just here's a check. It's about the relationship that you have with the angel investor. They want to sit very close to you in terms of how you're running your business, without overtaking it and overtaking your influence and impact on the business. But it's very much a partnership on how you work together to move your business forward. And as you'll see from a slide that I've got a little bit later on, how business angels think and operate and how they look at a proposition that's in front of them is very different from somebody that's actually looking at lending money to a business. The next slide, please. There are, of course, other types of equity finance that are out there. I won't go too much through the private equity side because that's further down the funding chain, if you like. You probably would have accessed at least some angel funding at some stage before private equity comes into play. But crowdfunding is an interesting option. It's one that you may have seen talked about online or on a particular business forum. But it's really an interesting concept, particularly if you are a business that supplies a product directly to customers, because your customers can be your advocates and can also be part of your funding. And crowdfunding is a very useful platform for that. What I would say is that all of the funding types that I've talked about on here, there is much more detail about the preparation that you can go through and help and guidance on the website that I will talk about a little bit later on that the bank provides. Next slide. So I talked a bit about what's the difference between you approaching somebody that might want to lend you some money as opposed to somebody that might want to invest in your business. They come from a very different point of view. And I suppose the most basic one is that early stage angel investors into businesses kind of expect that the majority of the businesses that they will support may not make it. It's a much more risky environment for them to invest in businesses, but that's how they operate and that's how they want to work. And it does mean that businesses that will potentially struggle to access finance still get an opportunity to achieve that success as they move forward. Whereas a lender is very much from the perspective of, okay, if I lend you money, this is kind of my money and I need to understand the route to actually getting that money back, whether that's through how your business trades or, unfortunately, what happens if your business doesn't make it through to the other end. So it's very different in terms of their mindset, and because of that, it's very different in terms of how you would potentially approach them in terms of you as a business owner. Move on another couple. That's it. So we're going to talk a little bit now about some of the preparation that you might need to do for either of those types of funding. And certainly everybody would expect that you would have a business plan. Now, this should be a living, breathing document that talks about you, your business, what it is that you're trying to achieve, and how you're going to get there. So there are a number of points that are covered on this particular slide, which I won't talk through each one in depth. But again, there's more support via our website in terms of how you pull this plan together. And certainly from a startup loan perspective, the business support partner, i.e. the Let's Do Business Group, will start to look at the business plan with you and start to do some work on that to make sure it's as robust as it can be. That if you're putting numbers in and objectives in terms of how your business is going to achieve certain financial milestones, how they've been tested, have you covered off a what if scenario? What if things don't quite work out as you would expect? So that's very much the support that they would be looking at providing for that. Move on again. So I've kind of mentioned that the financials, there are different types of financial information that either a lender or an investor might want from you, if not just at the outset, then certainly periodically through your relationship with them. And these will include things like a profit and loss statement, cash flow forecasts, how, what sort of cash are you going to need within your business for its day-to-day operation. And certainly the last one is very key. What are the key performance indicators? So what are the milestones that you need to achieve within your business that's going to demonstrate to you that your business is on track or not, or beating your forecasts, and they don't have to be all around just how much cash or profitability is in there. There are other performance indicators that you can look at within your business that will show that your business is moving in the right direction. Next slide. Cash flow, absolutely an important part of your understanding of your business as a business owner. The majority of businesses that fail in the UK fail because they run out of cash, not because their business is a poor idea or poorly marketed, etc. It's about how much cash they keep within their business for the day-to-day operation. And that's exactly the same for small businesses as it is for larger businesses. Some of the names we've lost on the high street over the last few years have gone out of business because they haven't got the cash readily available to meet the rent for their premises. So it's about how you can show that you would keep the right level of cash within your business for the day-to-day operation. And those will be things like, okay, when I send invoices out, what terms do I give? How long does it take people to pay me? Then on the flip side of that, what terms do I get off of my suppliers? And is there a gap or a significant difference between you having to pay money out within your business and then having to get your money in to cover that? And then how are you covering that shortfall? And that's certainly something particularly that lenders were very interested in, how you're going to demonstrate that, because available cash within your business will be what's there to pay your monthly repayment on your loan. Okay. We're not the only ones that are out there looking at how we can help and support businesses through the early stage and particularly the finance requirements. And there are a number of bodies and people that you can approach for further help and support. And absolutely the local authorities and the teams like Rachel is involved in are very much part of that. These are a number of the organisations that we work with as well across the whole of the UK. And it means that we pull information from them. So if you take the UK Business Angels Association, for example, the information that sits on our website about angel finance is drawn from the people that work and operate 100% of the time in that environment. So it's giving you good, impartial, but practical advice and information, I should say, in terms of what you can do to get your business in the best position to attract the funding that you need. Next slide. And we pull that together via our Finance Hub. Now, originally when the Finance Hub was created, it was a little bit of a just, here are all the finance options. These are the ones that might be appropriate for you, and these are the ones that may not, based on some very basic information. How much money do you want? What do you want it for? Where are you based? What sector are you in? Does your business make a profit at the moment or not? And are there any assets within the business? And it would look at, I think it's 17 different ways that businesses can raise money and put them into a possible or a probably not option, because this is about information rather than advice. The website has developed greatly over the last 2 years and has now involved a number of really useful guides, things like business resilience, how you manage debt, lots of information to help support businesses and to strengthen your position, and hopefully get you to talk to the right people that can then provide the advice and the practical hands-on support to help your business stay afloat and keep going forward and achieve what you want to achieve from your business. Next slide. We also run a number of programs very similar to Startup September that Rachel talked about earlier on, and this is a national program, our Business Finance Week, that's going to run from the Monday to Friday during that week in November, where we're going to have a series of events, both face-to-face and online, with a different financial theme each day, again looking at providing more information and practical support for businesses across the UK. This is the second one of these that we've run. The inaugural one was last year and was proved very successful in terms of the number of businesses that were part of the events that we put on. There were far more online events last year than and there are a few more face-to-face ones coming back in this year. So again, from that link that's on the slide there, you can see what's available, and the online events are open for everybody, and there are some face-to-face events. The one that's for the East region is on the Monday of that week, where we've got somebody from an angel syndicate coming to talk to businesses in much more depth about the process for early stage angel investment, and the details of that are all on that website. Okay, next slide. Now, one of the things that we're also quite keen on is finding out how much of the information that we're able to give through webinars like this improve people's mindset in terms of accessing funding and finance. Now, if you access the QR code that's on the slide here, there are just 2 questions on there in terms of how you feel on the back of receiving some of this information from us today. So if you do have a few minutes, we would be very grateful if you could answer those couple of questions. And then my final slide is, are there any questions from the floor?
It doesn't look like we've got anybody, Paul, that wants to take the bait and ask a question. So I think, yeah, I think you've done a wonderful job there. Thank you ever so much.
What I would say, Rachel, is if anybody is viewing this webinar after the date, i.e. not live,
Yeah,
you've got my contact
I
details.
have
And if
indeed.
anybody wants to have a chat with me about anything that's covered in this presentation, then please do get them to reach out to me.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think if I put the next slide on just so that everybody can see the business email address. So yeah, if anybody has got any questions following this webinar and they're watching later on, then please do email and I can pop you in contact with Paul if you'd like to. And obviously the Let's Do Business team will be at the business breakfast on the 5th of October. So they'll be there to help as well and signpost you and give you some advice and support in any way that you might need. So yeah, thank you ever so much, Paul. Thank you everybody for joining us, and thank you to anybody listening later. And yeah, we're really grateful that you've come along today and shared your wonderful knowledge, Paul. Thank you ever so much.
Thanks again for the opportunity, Rachel.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.